everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Good turnout.
It is a really good turnout. Thank you guys, everybody, for coming in the middle of the day. Hope that your meeting has been great so far and that you've been able to see as many talks and network. That's what this is all about. I wanted to welcome you to the Geo-Communication on Social Media panel. This is our moderator, Madison Shiro. She is going to be reading your questions. You can send to this number right here. That is not her phone number. Don't save it, even though she's so pretty. Okay, so any questions that you might have, you can send them in there. But we're just going to get started with a general introduction. If you hadn't been here for our workshop on Saturday, we're just going to go down the line, introduce ourselves, and what it is that we do mainly. So, hi, my name is Kate Larson. I'm known as the Groovy Geologist. I'm a general geologist, so I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, and I really enjoy teaching that on social media. I give talks at colleges and conferences and sometimes parks. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Ethan. Rockman Ethan. I'm the guy who does what's inside that rock. Got my Bachelor's of Science and Master's of Science from Binghamton University in New York. And I guess my content primarily focuses on mineralogy, a little bit of like geological discoveries, and I've been doing this for 2.5, 3 years. Kate was one of my reasons why I kind of wanted to get into it, and enjoyed really every second. And I love going to GSA because I get to meet new people, really cool research, and this is a really cool opportunity.
Hi everybody, my name is Brian Castillo. I'm also known as the Earthquake Dude, so by my name, I specialize in earthquakes. I'm an adjunct professor at Cal State San Bernardino, but I also do TikTok on the side here. I'm mostly known for my fact and fear mongering videos where people tag me in videos about Yellowstone erupting tomorrow or California falling into the ocean. No, it's not. What a relief. I usually make those kind of videos where I present scientific fact and why they're incorrect. Maybe, throw a little clown joke or two.
Hi everyone, I'm Becky. I go by GeoBeck on Instagram, TikTok. I also make YouTube videos. I do this science communication as my full-time job. I'm really interested in geotourism, geoheritage, urban geology, geoarchaeology. Essentially any reason I can connect rocks with like literally anything else in life, in the world, and just show people how cool rocks are by kind of tricking them into showing them how connected they are to it in their daily life. I also have a TV show in the local production company where we talk about rocks, mainly where I live in New York State, but we also got to go to the Museum of Natural History and interview them about the MAT program there. So if any of you are interested in becoming an earth science teacher, you want to live in New York City and be funded, go check them out.
I'm Denali. My username on Instagram and TikTok is Dykenite. And I'm known primarily for doing a lot of volcano content. I do other geologic content as well, but I'm a volcanologist, so I tend to talk a lot about volcanoes. I also talk a fair amount about equality and STEM issues. I also run the social media for Out in STEM, which is a professional LGBTQ in STEM organization, so I'm very involved in that. I just started my PhD, but for the last 2 years or so, I've been working both at the Alaska Volcano Observatory and as a marine geologic contractor. So I like to share what it's like to be working in those fields on my social media.
Sorry about that. I accidentally triggered the 911 thing on my phone. You wouldn't want that to happen.
Oh, man. Other questions that are coming in? Or
Not yet. You guys, if you have anything.
you can also just raise your hand.
Shout it out.
If that also works. I've only been to like a few panels before that were like well organized, and the ones that were well organized had a phone number to text your questions to, and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
And maybe people from the live stream will text questions in too.
So we're streaming this and recording it as well, so if anybody has questions, if you came with questions, like the little flyer said, shoot it on out. We're happy to talk about how we got started, goals, how you can get started too.
We actually have our first question, and it's pertaining to that.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. How did you all get started with this? And what would you recommend to somebody who wants to get started in geocommunication? Perfect
Great
transition
question.
there. Wow.
Yeah. So I got started because I was, a geology senior about to graduate in 2020 when COVID lockdown happened, so I got on TikTok because everyone was just lonely and bored, and I started making videos on there to kind of cope with all of the fear and anxiety that was happening around the time. And I made a lot of just really random, funny videos, things I thought were relatable. I think I'm funny, so I just kind of ran with it. But then I made one geology video that had to do with hydrochloric acid, just like pouring it on my hands. It's like, yeah, we just pour it. We don't really care about wearing gloves like the chemistry majors do. And that really skyrocketed, and people were asking me like, oh my gosh, you're a geology major? What's that like? What is that? And it gave me an opportunity to talk about something that I hadn't been talking about much, because I had been home alone with none of my classmates, and it really sucked not talking about geology 24/7. So then I really just kind of dove into it, started doing live stream lessons, more videos. I made geology content, like the only content I make on TikTok, and then going to Instagram, people finding out about me, getting invited to do cool things, getting paid to go do cool things, and making so many new connections through it, all through just social media. So it's been a really wild ride.
Yeah, basically it was the same thing about Kate. I was bored during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I literally just wanted to go viral on TikTok. I feel like I was seeing everyone make like one video where they went viral, they did something stupid, and I was just like, all right, I want to do something stupid, but combine it with geology. And I made What's Inside That Rock as a series where I thought it'd be like, oh, breaking a rock open every day until it goes viral. And then it went viral on the second day. I didn't really know what else to do. And they were like, you should keep going, like keep going. And I was just like, all right, whatever. And I'm glad I did, because people seem to really enjoy it. And I enjoy really like a lot making it. And I think the second part was how
Yes.
how to like what people should be.
I don't know.
How to help somebody get started.
Social media is such a weird way to do it. I wish that at least one of us got started without social media.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird new world, and I give talks on why social media is so big for communicating science and geoscience specifically. And it's getting really exciting because it's an under-tapped market. There are a lot of science communicators out there. How many people follow some kind of space influencer who just keeps posting pictures of the JWST telescope, and that's like all their content? Yeah, I'm bored of that. I think we need more geology people, because I think the social media, like science communication market, is really oversaturated with other general scientists or just other sciences. We could be doing this too. We have been doing it. We've made jobs, careers out of it, some of us, and it is such a viable option. And if you have already made something like that, you're trying to make connections, we can facilitate that. We want to see you guys succeed and get yourselves out there.
For me, why I got started and how you can get started are kind of similar. I wanted to make content that I wasn't seeing and that would mean a lot to me, and I think that that's a good way to kind of figure out where you would fit, is what kind of content do you wish you saw and that you aren't seeing, and then make it yourself.
I agree with that. I mean, for me, I started actually on YouTube. It was during 2020, during the pandemic, and I had just left a job that I was extremely unhappy at, and it was in the construction and engineering industry. So I found that when I was at that job, I kind of felt myself like losing a lot of the knowledge that I gained during my degree, and I didn't like that. And then I also found that I didn't have the excitement and curiosity and wonder every day that I did when I was studying geology, actively every day. And I wanted to get in touch with that again, so I made a video on YouTube just why I love geology, and then I started making videos on TikTok, and then later Instagram. And yeah, kind of like Denali said, at first I started out with videos of kind of general geology, intro geology topics, things that people probably Google a lot for their earth science class. And then I started thinking about what interests me specifically, what I want to learn about and what I'm curious about. And by making these videos and researching them, I'm also learning. So that was a big motivator for me as well. And for advice on how to get started, the biggest piece of advice that I give people is to just start making stuff. And even if it's really bad and cringy, because when I look at my first videos, I'm like, I I can't watch it. Like, it's so, I cringe really hard. But I have a lot of love and compassion for myself and pride for putting myself in that kind of uncomfortable, scary position and getting to this point where now it's my job and I've met these amazing people through it. So
You have to learn from it. It's like anything else. You're not going to be good at it when you first start, even though Ethan went viral in his second video.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to making mistakes and learning from it and having it not be successful from the beginning. Because especially with something like geology, it's like how Becky keeps saying that like teaching geology is sometimes like you're feeding a kid vegetables but like sneaking it into a cake or something. You have to figure out how to make it fun, and that's not always intuitive, especially if your main history is in academia where everything is very formal and you get up there and you have a set number of rules for how you communicate things. There aren't as many rules on social media, so you have to figure out what works for you.
I don't have an inspirational story like they do. I actually made an arch nemesis on TikTok. This guy was talking about earthquakes and he totally was not qualified. And as a professor, I always got my students like, hey, have you seen this earthquake video? Like, they saw how passionate I was about earthquakes, and then I was like, who is this clown, you know? And that honestly, that motivated me. I was like, there's just so much misinformation on the internet.
Hey, spite is a good motivator.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So yeah, essentially, I guess I can thank him for starting social media. It's kind of ironic. So yeah, I started making videos, just teaching earth science, well, general geology, but also natural disasters, earthquake hazards. I'm from California, so it's a big deal out there. And if you guys ever, go out to California, you'll feel your first earthquake, hopefully.
It just happened yesterday and you're not even there.
I know, that's so nice. It always happens like that. California's okay, let's do something. So as for how to get started, find a video you hate and just,
nothing's a good motivator is
Right.
Yeah.
And not that I hate the guy, he just didn't know what he was talking about, So I was like, oh, you know what? I don't see much people talking about geology or earthquakes on TikTok. Honestly, other than us five, there's a few more. There's literally no geology creators.
It was kind of funny because I feel like a lot of us kind of relate to we didn't see each other when we started out.
Yeah. I didn't know any of you.
And we all had the same thing. It was
We
just
have
like,
no
started
idea
the
the
same
timeline of when we all discovered each other.
Yeah.
We've been trying to piece this together for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I have no idea when I found any of you, except for Denali. I just knew because your arms were out. I was like,
Very recognizable.
Fox.
We've got tons of great questions.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we've got, this one's kind of funny. We've got at least two people commenting from the live stream. Somebody's down in Brazil wanted to say hi from a hammock in Brazil.
Oh my God.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
You guys'
That's
services to the geosciences is off the charts and should be recognized. So it's really sweet. We got a couple questions on grad school, so I'm going to kind of combine them. Basically, first kind of general question seems to be, how do you navigate getting into grad school? And then following up with that, how do you balance grad school and doing what you guys do? And specifically, there's one person who's interested in marine volcanology and geochemistry, so I figure you might want to take that one.
That's definitely a quick question for you. You're like a semi-grad experience.
I'm not a good person to ask for grad school. All I did was I went to Binghamton University, and then I had a special program that I could just apply to. It was a 4+1 program for MS. And some universities offer it, but if you don't have that opportunity, it's really just like reaching out to professors for different schools, applying to as many places as you can, connecting. But yeah, I don't think
I finished grad school before TikTok was a thing. It was 2019, right before the pandemic hit. So I was already teaching when TikTok blew up. So I was already into education. So it was a little bit easier for me, just prep lectures and then all right, let me go make a video.
I have a lot more opinions on applying to PhD programs than master's programs, just because it's a huge commitment for a huge part of your life, and they're very stressful. But you want to really think about why you're going to grad school and mindfully choose what you want to go for. It's really normalized now for people to just go straight from undergrad into some kind of grad school. And if that works for you, that's great, but that doesn't work for everyone. And especially for a PhD where it's such a long time commitment and you might not know necessarily what you want out of it yet, it's okay to take time off and do something else. Like I was already pretty sure what I wanted to specialize in when I went to my PhD program to apply, and I still took almost 2 years off. And I think that that was a really good experience because I had time as a geologic contractor, and so that's a taste of industry. I worked at ABO, which is federal research. I know what federal research is like. I definitely know what academia is like. And it enables you to be much more confident about what you're doing moving forward and maybe at least be a little bit less stressed out because you at least know why you're doing it and you know you're motivated for that. Whereas it's really common going into PhD programs. I've heard the phrase, I'm just not ready for the real world so many times. The real world is much easier than grad school. I'll tell you, regular geology, it's much easier than a PhD program, especially if you're doing some kind of really intensive research. So just go about it really, really mindfully and don't be afraid to do something that's different than what all of your peers were doing. Most of my peers from undergrad went straight into a PhD program, and I'm glad that they did that if that makes them happy, but that wasn't the right choice for me. And I'm really glad that I didn't decide to do what everyone around me was doing because I'm going into grad school with a really strong idea of what I want for my future. And then for marine volcanology and geochemistry, my advice on that is probably going to translate to most geology specialties. The most important thing you can do is network. I feel like I went into geology thinking we're all just a bunch of people who want to be alone in the woods with rocks and not talk to anyone. Most of the time that's true, but you have to talk to a lot of people to get the job where you don't deal with anything but rocks. So you really want to network, and if you have people at your school you can network with or professors, that's great. Not everyone, like I do volcanology, it's really niche. Not everyone is at a school where you have a volcanologist. Just email people, and it's so much harder than it sounds to just email people out of the blue. Most of the strong networking and connections I've gotten have been from persistently emailing people who I've never met in person before ever in my life. It's like, what's the worst they can do? Ignore me? If they actually genuinely get mad at me for emailing them and trying to invest in my career, I don't want to work with them anyway. So don't be afraid to email people, even if you've never met them. You don't even have to have any specific questions for them if you just want to talk generally about their research. Researchers very rarely get asked about their research by anyone outside their niche, so they'll just be excited that someone who cares enough to email them about it. And that's pretty much true for, I think, every niche. Networking is super, super important.
Nice. Okay, we've got a little shout out on here about Kate's Instagram and TikTok training course. Somebody wants everybody to know that you can do it for free if you're a GSA member. So that's a great way to get started.
Is that Hayden saying it?
Yeah.
It's anonymous, but if the member comes from Brazil, it's probably Hayden.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. So yeah, if you do have an interest in wanting to not just social media science communication, but just have a good sense of science communication skills and being able to apply that to geoscience specifically. I was an instructor on this course. It is a hugely popular course. GSA has paid for all of its members to have free access to it, which is a huge thing that you guys should take advantage of if you're members. It's a course that is, I think it maybe takes 4 hours to go all the way through, but it's a lot of content. You don't have to do all of it, but you get a certificate at the end, and it's really, really cool. And you get to learn a lot of the communication skills that you probably weren't taught, in your geology undergrad. It's something you don't really get introduced to. It's something that a lot of geoscientists probably need some training on, and you guys can take advantage of that. And I have a little module on there too for social media. But the course itself is huge.
I have Geologize, right?
Geologize,
some notebooks
yes.
out. Geologize.
I have a card in my purse that I can give to you, or I can let you scan it, and there's a code that lets you go to the little home page, and you can find what society that you belong to, and you can use their access code, so that if you're a member of GSA, any AGI organization, AAPG, SEG, any of those, they want to track how many of their users are signing up for it, because we want to show them that it's worth it, that people are actually using this and they're going to walk away from it with an incredible new skill that they're going to better the field with.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions on a similar vein. Geology fun. This one, you're probably going to want to take this one. How does content theft / people reposting without credit affect your mindset or motivation in geocommunication? And then somebody also asked broader, what kind of challenges do you guys face in geocommunication?
that's probably a.
I think the first one, Ethan,
I think that happens to you more than anybody.
Everyone copies is what's inside that rock.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like gotten to like, I don't know. I started out with content like I thought copying because I don't know, social media. Once something goes on social media, like there's so many trends. Is it like theft if like you take someone's trend or someone's idea? Definitely sometimes if you just don't give credit, that's like the most important. So it's like citing. Everyone knows how to cite, or I don't really know how to fully cite. Sometimes when I was doing my master's, I got a lot of comments on my citations. Anyways, but yeah, I got some problems with people who were like taking the idea, who were just actually someone straight up just like took a video of me and then posted on their account, and it was like sped up. I don't know.
I've seen several people who literally use your song.
Yeah.
I think that's like one thing though, because TikTok is all about utilizing trending sounds.
Yeah,
Like,
sounds
that's
are
it.
one thing.
We do rely on that. Like we rely on using other people's initial idea, like an initial trend that everyone else follows along with. I think it does get it gets a little too far when it's done in a way that makes it look like it's coming from you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
especially
using your specific song. Like, that's
especially
where
if
you
the
get it.
creator themselves comments saying, "Hey, I would rather you didn't share this because
Yeah.
I just get mad.
But
and then they don't listen."
But yeah, so I'll ignore like the people who like take my videos without permission because everyone knows that's wrong. But there are a lot of people who started a series about like what's under this thing or what that kind of similar vein to my videos. And as much as it like made me a little bit annoyed if the videos did really well, I took pride in being like I inspired someone to do like that kind of thing. So I tend not to try to be like super petty online because I feel like it's a rabbit hole. You just go down and you just don't escape from it. But
sorry.
I was just gonna say, but like in terms of just like what was the second part of it?
Second part was, let me find it again.
The challenges that we face.
Yeah, challenges
Yeah.
in general. Yeah.
In general, I'd say for me, a big challenge is like consistency and like staying true to what you do. What?
There's another question about
Oh my god, maybe I'll say it. But I'd say just like it is maybe not consistency for this part, but like I'll say like energy, keeping it up. Like what's inside the rocks are very energetic sometimes, and I like if you saw me like behind the scenes doing it, I'd sometimes be like, all right, pump myself up, let's go. You don't always have to be super positive. Like social media can be very fake sometimes. Not everyone is how they seem on camera. But if that's how social media is. It's a lot of energy, a lot of positivity. But yeah, you don't have to be like super happy, super go-getting every second of the day. You're allowed to be any other emotion. But keeping that up can be sometimes hard, but just remember that you're allowed to feel like a human. You don't have to be a robot with programmed emotions.
I actually want to jump off of that. The robot thing is actually great because that's a big thing I talk about as like part of the reason I love science communication and why I want to do it is to show my humanity in me as a person, and all of us can agree with that. Because I used to think that I couldn't be a scientist. I used to when I was in high school, I thought that I wasn't going to ever study science, and then I got to college and I discovered geology, and geology is a science, it turns out. And I picked that before I knew I had to take calculus, chemistry, physics, all of that stuff. And I did it. I was able to do it. I did pretty well in classes for the most part. And a big part of that is because I had this idea in my head of what a scientist is supposed to be, and I thought essentially of this robot that knows everything and is in a lab coat, and just I just kind of wasn't envisioning it as a human, a person like me with their own struggles and hobbies and interests and personality. So I like to personally include my other hobbies outside of geology or my interests or things I like to do or just my personality in general, sharing pictures of my cat, I don't know. And in terms of challenges I face, a lot of it, yeah, there's a lot of external challenges, of course, but for me, a big challenge is myself in limiting myself in a lot of ways where if I have ideas, I'm getting better at it, but sometimes it's hard to know if I should follow an idea and if it'll be worth it. And I also have trouble with like wanting to include all the information possible in everything, because I don't want to like accidentally spread misinformation or say something inaccurate. But yeah, that's like a big challenge in my own head that I face. But yeah, I'm sure everyone else can speak to more like external challenges as well, because we all face pretty similar ones, especially, not gonna lie, being a woman on
Okay, actually
social
just
media.
got that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you guys navigate being a woman in geoscience or being a minority in geoscience? That's the question on here, so that relates perfectly to what you're about to say.
It's interesting. I feel like when I first started my account, it was purely an LGBTQ content account. Like I had just moved and I wanted a way to connect with my community. It was like the tail end of like quarantine, so it wasn't fully quarantine, but you couldn't necessarily just like go meet up in person. And I ended up making geology content because I had a completely non-geologic video with a dumb joke in it go viral, and I was like, okay, all of a sudden all these theoretically like gay people are following me. I like rocks and I'm gay, maybe they like rocks. And so I started making geology content, and I mean, it's not like I didn't know what would happen eventually, but that is something that's kind of a struggle for me, having that part of myself be so visible online. Is the areas and places where I grew up and have historically gone to school. I went to school in Florida, if people didn't know. That's not exactly something you wear on your sleeve in a professional setting. And so that is something that's difficult about making that such a huge part of your platform. Is the fact is this, depending on where you go and depending on where you live, the person who decides that my dream job might be in the hands of someone who would not want to work with a lesbian. And I'm pretty well known for being a lesbian at this point. So that is something that's very difficult. Is on the one hand, you want to help and be a part of your community, but there are still today in many areas very real consequences to being honest about that with yourself and the people around you. So
I'll touch up on the minority issue because I am a minority. I'm first generation Salvadorian. My parents were immigrants. So actually English is my second language, and I've always been self-conscious about the way I speak English. My Spanish is not very good either. I've lost a lot of it throughout the years. But one thing I do face as a minority is imposter syndrome. I sometimes feel like I don't really belong here. And I'm scared, making videos on the internet. Someone's like, hey, your English is, how are you assigned because your English is terrible? And it's really not, but I do, mix up. I can't pronounce some words like jewelry. I can't pronounce that word for the life of me. So just little things like that. There are some challenges, but like I said, I got a good supporting group. My girlfriend's really supportive as well. She's like, no, you just gotta keep doing it. And, eventually you overcome these things and you get better. And yeah, so there are some challenges, but don't let that stop you from, creating good content and showing your voice and things like that.
a phrase.
You inspire people.
Yeah, a phrase I've used it I have given talks at universities and stuff, and it's usually in my stance, not only as a science communicator, but specifically about someone who very publicly advocates on behalf of my community. And you have to get very comfortable with making others uncomfortable, because there's just no way to avoid it depending on where you are. I have had jobs and environments that are very supportive and very loving, so I don't want to make it seem like all my experiences have been this horrible, awful thing. I've had many very great supportive experiences, but most people in my position also have many that were not that way. And so you just have to get to a point where, not going to say doesn't affect you, but you have to get, in certain situations, if you are disrupting the world around you, you're making good progress, if it's not a good environment. So.
Becky, Denali, anybody want to comment on being a woman in geoscience?
I definitely feel a lot of imposter syndrome as a woman in science in general, and also just on social media, because I never really thought that I was good at public speaking, or I never really envisioned that I'd be good at talking on camera, and I've surprised myself in that way by creating, not just talking on camera, but producing the videos, and also not just videos, I sharing my photography and all that stuff, but I do compare myself a lot to people. Just on social media, we all do. It's definitely harder when it's your full-time job and your income revolves around how well your posts do. So that's definitely a struggle. It's also, I'm extremely grateful that it's my full-time job. It's just, a lot of comparison, and the imposter syndrome really is strengthened in that way. But the way that I combat that is really just by connecting with other people, and like especially with these people, I have been able to have this sense of community and feel inspired by them and just share our experiences with each other, and that kind of thing really helps with the imposter syndrome, and especially as a woman, just connecting with other women or gender minorities that are in the same space as you or similar spaces, maybe even just like a slightly different field that experience a lot of the same things. I feel like is a really great way to help combat that feeling, because we all feel that in some way.
I'll speak a little bit just about like fieldwork in geology, because I do a lot of fieldwork, and fieldwork in geology for women in geology can sometimes be a complicated topic. It's unfortunately still it's too prevalent an opinion that like women are not cut out for fieldwork or don't belong in fieldwork in some capacity, and that's something you kind of just, I don't want to say get used to dealing with, but it is something that you have to deal with as a woman in science, and like you have to think. I spend way too much time, not too much, I spend a lot of time thinking about like safety in the field for me personally, like not just like I'm going to an actively erupting volcano, but dealing with an eruption is usually not the thing that I'm spending the most time thinking about. It's how I'm going to make sure that I'm safe, unfortunately, like from the people I'm there with, especially if I don't know them. And sometimes I've had fieldwork, crews where I would trust them with my life, and I've had fieldwork crews that I will never work with ever again. And so it's just an unfortunate reality of the situation, and it's something that I feel like became especially obvious to me as someone who sometimes dresses, depending on how I dressed the first time I met someone, is very evident. You're in this awkward position as a lady in general. You're punished if you're not feminine enough, but in the world of science and fieldwork, you're punished if you're too feminine. So there's kind of no winning in that sense. But a big part of it is like getting in touch with other women and supporting each other. Like I do identify as non-binary, but I went to the Association of Women Geoscientists thing because I'm never going to be able to disentangle my experience in science from my experience of, like being a science female at birth. Those experiences are pretty intrinsically linked. So you're such an amazing speaker. Me too.
That's a good way to pick a comment on that. Like, I think that as women in communication, we definitely get looked at a little bit differently than like a man in communication. Not even just on social media. Just like I have like given talks where I feel like I'm getting like patronized a little bit. It's like, oh, a pretty girl is talking to us. Okay, what are you gonna say, sweetheart? And it's like a really old man, and I just feel like I'm being talked down to because they think that I'm not really worth anything to be talking to them. And this is like this is like one very specific experience. I don't think that applies to everything, but it really stuck with me. So like that was something that I didn't really particularly enjoy. But it hasn't happened since. And that was early on in my like giving talks kind of career. It was like a virtual talk or a group. I'm glad it hasn't happened again. I'm glad that I feel like I'm becoming more of a professional in my field. I'm more notable and respected. And I think that seeing more women doing this kind of work is helping too, because it's not just me now, or it's not just another woman that they had come give a talk 2 years ago and he probably did the same thing to her. Maybe the next 3 women who give talks with this group, maybe he treats them better because he sees more and more women. And it's like, oh my God, okay. This is just normal now. This isn't just like a weird little thing that happens. That is just like a little treat to have a girl come and talk to us. And
for me,
it's very strange.
A majority of my experiences, both as a woman and as like a queer person in science, have been positive. That wasn't always the case for throughout history. For me, a majority of them have been positive. It's just if even a small percentage is as negative as the negative experiences are, we need to be talking about it as a community because it's not acceptable in any percentage, in my opinion.
I felt that way in the construction industry. Like I had a lot of great people I worked with and people I created relationships with, but the bad experiences like still stick with me and still like follow me in other experiences, and sometimes it connects to experiences in science communication and on social media being so visible, and having people behind a screen feel like they can just say anything. And Luckily, I can block them if they're being creepy or weird. But yeah, block button's great.
Or clown emoji.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a question that is very near and dear to my heart, as, I mean, it's just so important. This person is tuning in from the live stream as well, and they're wondering if you guys could all touch on being a mentor to younger aspiring geologists and the accountability associated with it.
I love that question.
It's such a good one.
I feel really weird when people, so I guess I used to feel really weird when I would get messages from students or like high schoolers who really want to go into geology, and they're asking me about careers, they're asking me about what they can do, what they should do, what should I go to school for, what school should I go to, and I'm like, I want to give you everything, I want to help you. I wish that I was as smart as you when I was your age and reached out to people and tried to seek out that kind of guidance. I didn't know that kind of support was there, and I'm glad that they look at me as being this like beacon of knowledge that they can reach out to. Because how often can you like literally just go talk to a scientist and ask them a question? You know, there's like a lot of celebrity scientists on social media, and not a lot of them really like respond to people. So it's something I try to keep up with, and that I've tried to keep up with for over the years. But I don't know everything. I don't know everything about other geology fields. I work in this one. I work in communication. It's very specific. Unlike, you know, Becky or like Denali or Brian, like you guys have all been in specific other workforces, so you have experience in that. It's me and you just doing this. So I created a resource page to kind of answer those questions people have. Like, here's all the different things that you can do. Here's what you might want to think about if you want to go to school for geology. You know, this is what like different careers look like, the different job prospects. So I put that together so I could still help them in some way without just leaving them hanging. But I'm really happy that like a lot of young people look up to me, and there's this girl, oh my god, and I'm gonna feel so bad if she's watching. I've literally been talking to her for over a year. She was a high school student when she messaged me, and I remember being in the laundromat, like recording like a voice message on Instagram for her, because she asked me about finding schools to apply to, like to go study geology, and I'm like doing my laundry, and like I'm so excited to answer this because I know all about this. Like, here's how to do it, and I've been in touch with her for over a year now, and she started her first semester, and now she's like in college studying geology, and like I got to help her with that. It's awesome. I can't remember her name, but I can tell you everything about her though. I don't remember.
I was like, I think I might have talked to this person online too.
I'm really bad with names, but I love that I get to do that with people, and it's really rewarding to know that that they sought out help. They had the right idea to seek out help and seek out guidance, and that I could provide it for them. And again, I don't know everything, so it's always good that I meet so many new people in different fields of geoscience, and I can connect them with each other, and that's just saves everybody, you know, a lot of Google searches.
Sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say like the same thing that Kate said, but we don't know everything, so I get questions like that too, where someone will comment or they'll message me and they'll be like, I'm thinking about going to geology, should I do it? Or like, is it worth it? Is it worth the career path? Someone actually asked me recently if it's worth it as a mother of 2 kids, and I responded saying, honestly, this isn't my experience, so I truly don't really have like a great answer for you. Obviously, I'm biased in that I love geology and I think everyone should study it, but I also haven't experienced this, and I know that there's a lot of difficulty in being a mother, a working mom, going to school, just being a parent in general. Like, I don't know what that's like, so I couldn't answer that question. And in those moments, it's frustrating because I want to be able to answer that and give that guidance. But like Kate said, it is great knowing that there's people that you can connect them to, or just resources you can connect them to, because we don't know everything. And yeah, like my path, as well as everyone, is so unique and different that we can't answer for everyone if they should do it, if it'll be worth it. I feel like we'll never know if something is worth it or not when we make a decision. We just have to kind of go for it and have our own journey with it and experience.
Yeah, I love being a mentor. I have Becky said, we all have a very unique path, and I used to be a little bit embarrassed about my story on how I got to where I am today, but I use my story as a way to motivate people to see the ups and downs in your career. I started in community college, not knowing. I honestly didn't know geology existed in high school, and that's a big problem, right? That's something that we're all trying to change. That's one of our biggest goals. So I took a geology class in community college, and I was like, oh, that's cool. People study rocks for a living, And that's where I, where it was introduced to like earthquakes. And my undergrad GPA is not something to be proud of, but I did a lot of other things to try to get myself, as ready as I could be to go to grad school. My grad school one, I'm very proud of, and then just being able to transition from community college to 4-year is a big transition. No one teaches you about these things, so I'm always happy to answer questions about things like that. Then going into grad school, going from undergrad to grad, then going from grad school to the workforce, and I was able to, fortunately, be able to get a job as an adjunct professor. So now I'm like on the end of the spectrum. So I've seen it all. So if you guys ever have any questions, please feel free. And like I said, I love being a mentor. I have a good story that I like to share, not embarrassed anymore. And so that's kind of my experience.
I think that's a great story, because that's like, I feel like a lot of people have that imposter syndrome or that feeling like, oh, I didn't do well in undergrad or whatever, so I'm not going to do good if I try to continue towards this goal. And having someone say that is really, really important.
And now I have 2 peer-reviewed publications. So, next question.
I have something real quick to say about that. It's kind of in a similar vein to what Becky said, but I was a very, very, very late transfer to geology. I didn't really know geology was a real job, to be honest, that like a real regular person could do, especially volcanology. People know volcanoes exist, but it just never occurred to me that people spend their whole life studying them. And so I transferred, I had 89, it was my junior year, and I had 89 credits, and you can't transfer if you have more than 90. So if I had one other credit, I wouldn't have been able to transfer at all. And even then, the transfer process was really horrible. And I went back to school for geology at 25. So even though I didn't feel that old, I was considered an older, non-traditional student. And so I get reached out to by a lot of people that are later in life, or sometimes even have other full entire careers. And you get that question a lot, asking you is it worth it? And I wish that I had time to have a personal meeting with everyone, because 9 times out of 10 I'll ask if they have time for a quick Zoom call or phone call first, because it's just too hard to go through everything or try and give real guidance over a DM. But of course, with the growth of accounts, you don't have time to have a Zoom call with everyone.
That's why you have to record a voice message.
Or a voice message or something. But that's the thing, is it's it is such an individual decision, and whether or not it's right for someone else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right for you. I feel like this is especially true in volcanology. I'm sure that it's other areas of geology are also very inaccessible, but I personally feel like volcanology is one of the least accessible and requires the most privilege to succeed in, and I can't necessarily answer accurately if it's going to be worth it to someone who is a single mom with 4 kids and no other means to, take care of their kids, their children. It's a very individualized decision, and so I think that being asked those kind of questions is a big responsibility that I think we all deal with, where we want to give as much information as we can without giving advice that doesn't apply directly to their life. We don't want to tell everyone, yes, it's worth it, yes, you should, take the chance, because there are consequences to every chance you take.
Yeah, quickly, I just want to add, I think all of us can relate to this, even you guys, but we all, at one point in our life, had that one special mentor who's really pushed us, who's really inspired us, and that's why I feel like mentorship is so important, and hopefully, we can be mentors to young students who want to go into geology. So just
Okay, kind of going off of the education thing we've got going on here, we have a question about how you guys see the intersections of formal education and geoscience communication coming together on social media and stuff. And then a specific question for Earthquake Dude, which says, how supportive is your university regarding your outreach endeavors? Do you think there should be more incentives in the U.S. for colleges and universities for their faculty members to conduct outreach, like you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I love my department. They actually funded some of my flight over here. Well, actually, all of it. So that was even.
Funding for your flight?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was a struggle, but we got it done. I think that's really, really important. And I think as the newer generations are coming in, taking those tenure track positions. Hopefully we can see the growth between science communication and academia, because it really is important. And we use YouTube videos to show documentaries to teach our students, right? So hopefully within the next couple decades we can see a real rise in that. Like I said, I'm very grateful for my department. My department chair, shout out Claire. She does a really good job in supporting all my geo-communication stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of not necessarily directly academia, but research as a whole. This was something I worked on a lot when I was at the Alaska Volcano Observatory, because most of the videos I make are about like volcanic hazards, and I'm very big on like sources. You can't be an expert on everything, and especially since I started making videos in undergrad, I wanted to be very careful about what I was saying and how I was saying it, and make sure that the people whose work it actually was cited. Because if it's not your work, it's impossible to know everything about it. I don't even know everything about my own work. So that was something I was working on at AVO. Since I made so many videos that used USGS sources, I would get feedback on USGS publications, and specifically the volcanic alert system. Anytime I make a video about like an active volcano in the U.S. or a currently erupting volcano in the U.S., there's a lot of them in Alaska that erupt quite frequently. But I would direct people to check the volcanic alert systems, because I personally do not want people coming to me in an emergency and asking what they should do. I want them going to the authorities whose job it is to protect people in an emergency. And when I would refer people to those alerts, I would get a lot of feedback saying that they didn't understand the way they were written. Theoretically, they're written for public consumption, but when they're written by people where the only people you come in contact with are people with your same education level, there can be some disconnect, and rather not that's actually understandable to the average person. And so that's something that we started doing, is trying to figure out ways that there could be more interface between science communicators and actual research agencies, because it's a really good, we're getting feedback on these things that they aren't getting feedback on. It's easier for someone to comment on my video than it is for them to email someone at the USGS. And they might not want to make a video about their content, but they would, or their research, but they would be interested in someone else making a video about their research. And so that's something I personally would really like to see more working forward, is either there needs to be a really good, solid system for interface between research agencies and people who do sci-comm for a living or do a lot of sci-comm, or research agencies need to take some responsibility for sci-comm and start having like full-time paid science communication positions, which don't currently exist. It's mostly volunteer work done by the research scientists themselves, and not everyone has time to do that or wants to make content. So
That's really a huge thing that I'm trying to fix in academia and among research institutions and organizations. I've given a lot of talks on why we should be having a lot more geoscience communication and why we should be using social media to harness all the potential it has. I really wish that more universities had full-time positions for people who are doing outreach and who are also good at doing social media and are also experienced in geoscience. You need to have all three. You have to know how to do these things, have the background that goes along with it, so that you are able to recruit people into the department. A lot of departments are going under. You got to have more people who are doing this, and universities that actually care about it and want to do something about it.
Can I make a little side note?
Yeah.
One of the only jobs where geoscience communication is your full-time thing is being a park ranger. A lot of people don't think about it. It can be a geology communication job. It's what I get to do every day, and I feel super lucky about that. But yeah, if that could transition over into universities and stuff, it would be so amazing. Oh my gosh, and more government agencies too, like you were saying, volcano thing, the alerts, that's like a true safety thing. But even in our park, the signage with the geologic wording, people don't understand it because it was written by a geologist who is using words like, even erosion and deposition. People don't know. Yeah,
and I think something that a lot of maybe research scientists, because some it's better, there's a lot more value for science communication now than there used to, but there are still some people in science and academia that don't really see the point. They're like, I just want to go and do my research and I don't care if people know about it. But one thing that tends to universally annoy scientists is misinformation about their science, right? If nobody knows about their science, some people are okay with that. But if everyone knows the wrong thing about their science, then they're not okay with it. And I feel like a really important part of having this interface between science communication and actual research agencies is like the motivation for doing something, right? I've probably said this phrase like 5 times in the past couple of days. The social media is a great tool for communication. It is also a great tool for misinformation. And like obviously everyone up here, we very much value that we're making content that's of good quality and that is accurate. But that is not true about everyone making science content on social media. And the more we can have interface between people who do that for a living, or better yet have the funding for the science communication be coming from an actual like official source, the more motivation there is for people to put out accurate content as opposed to whatever gets millions of views, which is not usually the truth.
We're running a little low on time.
Yeah.
We can do some
We
more.
got a quick practical question.
Yeah, I was just saying we can do some rapid fire stuff.
Rapid fire
Yeah.
questions.
Okay, let's go down the line. How much time do you guys normally take filming, editing, making a video?
6 hours.
Honestly, well,
That's just me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
all right. I'll say sometimes between like 5-10 minutes if it's like a short thing, and then like
At most, it's 6 hours.
yes,
I'm
it's
really
not even
particular.
stuff. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a specific thing. 5-10 minutes if you're doing something short, maybe a couple hours if you're doing more like geo-communication, like research and stuff.
Yeah, I'd say in 1 to 3 hours, depending on the video.
Sorry.
I take a long time to make my videos. I also do a lot of voiceovers and like
Animation is beautiful.
I do a lot of like I do
Show
views.
it.
So like plan a video. This isn't rapid fire. I'll plan a video. I'll write the voiceover script. I'll go film the B-roll. I'll film the voiceover script or record it, and then I have to edit it and then post it and write the caption and everything. So honestly, like sometimes I'll work on one video for like 3 days on and off. So like one thing I do that day will be like planning and writing the script and recording the voiceover, and then like the next day everything else. But that's for like a short Instagram reel. For YouTube, I will spend I think I've never like tracked it, but I feel like maybe like 30 hours, maybe more. Like I just spent I just posted a YouTube video that I've been working on since January that I kept putting off because it took so long. But yeah, sorry, that was really
If it's a short form video, it's like 15 minutes. It's like max 30 minutes, even if it's educational, because I'm in a PhD program, so I don't have 6 hours to make a video. Which is why most of my videos are in things I'm already a relative expert in, and I can just like ad-lib it. So
yeah, research takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
especially if it's like something I'm just looking
yeah.
at.
Okay, rapid fire question. This one's for you. How do you stay warm without sleeves?
That's a very good. I'm from
I'm so
Alaska.
cold.
The tattoo?
Yeah,
That's a good
it's
answer.
a volcano tattoo. So sexual heat. I don't know.
How does it feel to be geo-celebrities? Somebody wants to know.
Oh,
Do
it's
you
so
expect where you ended up? Did you guys expect this when you
No.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's a total accident.
3 or 4 years ago, I was so unhappy. I was like, I literally will do anything else.
So, if you could sum it up in one word, how does it feel to be a geo-celebrity? Everybody go down the line.
Weird.
Weird?
I'd say nice.
Nice.
Like, I like getting to meet people.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's cool, yeah.
Not one word, but always
One word,
surprising.
Becky.
Always surprising myself. Always surprising myself.
You just say it really fast.
Fun but stressful.
That's a good one word. Okay, hold on. I don't even know what this is about. What are your thoughts on the new discovery of ringwoodite 200 to 500 miles beneath the crust?
That's cool.
Any of that water returned to the surface from any superheat condition?
Anybody in the audience?
I don't know.
My wheelhouse.
Water returned to the surface.
Did this like just come
I'm
out
gonna go
like
with
today or
no.
yesterday?
I
I
don't
have
know.
not been reading things.
I'm not up to
I've
date
been-
on
I've
I
been
really
here.
thought you guys were going to ask us like what our favorite rocks are. Favorite
Yeah.
Favorite national park?
Yeah, favorite national park.
Denali.
I wonder why.
Tetons. Tetons.
Yep, let's do it.
Grand Canyon.
I actually haven't been to a national park.
Oh, I think that's about you.
They're like state parks. But I tell you what I want to go to is Grand Canyon.
Acadia, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking
Badlands.
Badlands.
Acadia is awesome.
That's fair. Somebody said, what's your favorite rock?
It's
So,
nice.
let's do it.
Nice.
Nice.
I like a good pegmatite. I think like the crystals that are in it are really nice.
Oh my god, tough. No,
Hey.
Prototype.
I thought you were saying the
I,
question.
yeah,
Oh,
no,
it's tough. Yeah, definitely.
I love nice, and I love what are the rocks that are lineated both ways. What's that called again? It's lineated in the way that it's pulled, and then it's also foliated. So it's S and L.
S and L?
SL.
So like it's just.
It's called like an LS tectonite. Yeah, LS tectonite.
Also obsidian. Okay,
Mid-ocean ridge basalt.
Okay, let's go back down the other way. Favorite mineral?
Garnet. It used to be kyanite, which is where the name diconite came from. Kyanite plus a word I'm not allowed to say. Well, actually, in the geologic sense, it's kyanite, and it's definitely the geologic version of that word. That's right.
Labradorite.
I'm gonna be basic. I'm going with quartz.
Oh.
That's how that's it.
Usually I say amethyst, but I'll go with malachite.
It's garnet. I really like garnet.
Garnet's good.
They look like little soccer balls, like the perfect, like rhombic dodecahedron, like D12 dice. Like that's how I remembered. I love it so much.
And garnet is an index mineral, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really prevalent in New York.
Yes.
And so is kyanite.
Fun fact: 3 out of 5 of us are from New York, and we just met coincidentally on social media.
And we all went to a SUNY school, which SUNY stands for
Yeah,
State
that's like
University
our-
of New York. We all went to different
So let's
SUNY
cover
schools.
that.
Next rapid fire question is where are you guys from?
I live in upstate New York.
I'm downstate New York.
So Southern California.
And so you're in the middle of us, in the middle of like the up and like the
You're talking about me,
downstate. Yeah.
not Brian.
Oh yeah,
So I call it upstate New York, but some people would disagree. Everyone.
anything up from Long Island is only.
No. For me, it's anywhere north of Poughkeepsie, but I know none of you care about that. I'm from the Hudson Valley, which is like 2 hours north of New York City.
I'm from Southeast Alaska.
Yeah.
That's the name.
I'm from North Carolina, but I live in South Dakota. All right, that's all we got on here. You guys got any quick rapid fire questions to finish us off?
I guess okay. I want to try and keep it as rapid fire as possible, but I work in geoscience education, and when I go to schools, literally, and it's high school students, and you guys are some of the first contacts they have. You're the people that make them go into these elective courses. It's the first of all contact you for you're going to bring people into this field. So going to school is obviously a very different dimension than the geoscience communication that you guys do through social media. So I want to know what are some pros and cons you see doing geoscience communication through social media versus the traditional like going into a class.
I think a pro would definitely be like the volume of reach and like how many people you can reach. But on the same side, on the other side of that, the con is that it's to some extent you lose the personal connection. Like I do think that people nowadays through social media, you're better able than you used to be to foster a personal connection by showing your personality, videos and everything. But it's never going to be quite the same as sitting face to face with a student and talking with them about their life and connecting on their level. So.
I have been in high school classrooms. Like I do give talks to high schoolers,
Yeah, me too.
and I find that they're so much meaner in person. So I kind of like.
I actually had
They just
one of my
stare
teachers.
at me.
I had one of my high school science teachers just message me asking if I could come in and talk.
Don't
to
do
students.
it.
And I'm terrified. I'm terrified.
But what I love about doing it online though is that you're going where teens are because they're on social media. They're always on their damn phones. They don't want to be in that classroom. Like they don't want to be there. They don't want to pay attention to whatever you're teaching them, whatever you're trying to tell them about. If you go where they are, they don't expect it. Find them on social media, and it's like hiding vegetables. And
That's what I was gonna say. Like, there's no classes I know about in high school or whatever about going up to a building stone in a city and staring at it and figuring out where the rocks came from. That's what I like to do in my videos. So I like that I can do that. I can just think of an idea when I'm driving or when I'm about to fall asleep and be like, I'm gonna make a video about that. Someone's gonna learn about it. And with a con is really just not being able to include everything you want to talk about because it's short.
And every classroom you go into might be a little bit different. Like as someone who's career in geoscience, I've specifically gone in and talked to like K-Straight Alliance or like clubs like that for high school kids. And my usual experience is that they're very, very excited to see someone like them in their field and who's come to talk to them. So it does depend on the venue that you're going to and that, different kids are different. So some are going to be really excited, some are going to want you to go away.
We've got 1 minute. Do you guys think
we don't have it.
we don't,
I think
yeah.
we just got that. We just
Yeah,
got
we
the
got
time.
that.
We have any final thoughts?
final thoughts?
Thank you so
Well,
much,
thank you.
everyone.